will join.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I'm Gene Ransom. I'm the CEO of MedChi, and I'm here today with Olivia Simon. We are doing a introduction to the orthopedics bundles for EQIP. And this is a series that MedChi is doing to make sure that physicians and other practitioners can understand and see what's going on with regards to the episode quality improvement program and the new bundles that are being offered. Very, very excited because this year we added 68 additional bundles to the EQIP offerings for 2026. And just so I don't bury the lead, the sign up is going to be July 1 to August 31st. So it is the perfect time to be paying attention and looking what's available. Today, we have Olivia Simon here with us, who's going to give an overview of EQIP and the new bundles that are available specific to orthopedics and MSK. I did want to say it's helpful to understand the history and the background of this. So EQIP, the Episode Quality Improvement Program, is a Maryland-only federally approved advanced payment model. It's very exciting because unlike other advanced payment models, the risk is taken at the system level, not at the practitioner level. So individual physicians, even if they work in private practice, even if they're a solo practitioner, do not take the risk. The system takes the risk. The state takes the risk. So there is risk, which is required for an advanced payment model, but the risk is not on your back. And you really have three opportunities to win. You can win with a modifier adjustment on your Medicare payments, an advanced payment model if it's funded, advanced payment model bonus if it's funded, and then shared savings. So really is an exciting program, an exciting opportunity. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Olivia Simon, and she is going to go through program year 5 orthopedics value-based opportunities under EQIP. Olivia, it is all yours.
Thanks, Gene. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just as Gene mentioned, MedChi is hosting a series of specialty webinars to kind of just give an overview of the program and talk about some of the opportunity for some different specialties in 2026. So we had the first 2 webinars already took place. Now we're on Ortho MSK, and we'll finish out the month with 2 additional webinars. So thank you again for being here today. I'm glad you were able to join us. So before we get started into the program details, I just want to touch on how EQIP came to be. So as a result of the total cost of care model, Maryland practitioners were left out of national Medicare value-based payment programs. And as a result, back in 2022, the Health Services Cost Review Commission, or the HSCRC, created this voluntary episode quality improvement program specifically for practitioners in Medicare. And this gave them an opportunity to participate within a value-based payment program. We are currently in the 4th performance year of EQIP, and 2026 will be the 5th year that EQIP has been operating. So as I mentioned, EQIP is a completely voluntary program, and Gene touched on this in the beginning. EQIP is also an advanced alternative payment model. And this program is offered to Maryland generalists, specialists, or other CMS approved practitioners within the state of Maryland. Again, this is a Maryland only program. So essentially, by participating, EQIP will engage practitioners specifically who treat Maryland Medicare beneficiaries and care transformation and value-based payment. And this is through an episode-based approach. What that means is EQIP will hold its participants accountable for achieving both cost and quality targets for 1 or more clinical episodes. And so again, today I will show you which episodes are available for Ortho MSK for the upcoming year. But before we get into the actual program details, again, I just want to emphasize one more time EQIP as an advanced alternative payment model. So CMS's quality payment program has 2 tracks. One is the merit-based incentive payment system, or MIPS, and the other is Advanced Alternative Payment Models, or AAPMs. EQIP falls under this AAPM track of the Quality Payment Program. As a result, practitioners who participate in EQIP are on this AAPM track, and they are considered qualifying APM participants, or QPs. QPs are exempt from MIPS reporting and MIPS payment adjustments, and they will currently receive a higher Medicare physician fee schedule update than non-QPs. So it's important to note that the APM conversion factor is set by Congress and subject to change. However, at this time, the APM conversion factor is set at 0.75%. So this is an annual increase by 0.75% to your Medicare physician fee schedule update. So by participating in EQIP, you would get the MIPS exemption, and at this time, the higher Medicare physician fee schedule update. This is just for your involvement and your participation within the program. This is not dependent on your performance in the program. So now let's kind of get into how the program actually operates. So I've broken it down into three main groups. So first, we're looking at this annual enrollment opportunity. So during July through August of each year, you have the opportunity to enroll in EQIP through an EQIP entity. And an entity is just one or more practitioners who are deciding to participate in EQIP together. So this entity will select the clinical episodes that they would like to participate in during the enrollment period. Then the target price is set. So what happens is costs from the episodes that were triggered in EQIP's baseline year are aggregated for the entity, and an average episode cost or unique target price is assigned to the entity for each episode it is participating in. This target price is the goal price that the entity is trying to be under in order to generate savings within the program. And then lastly is the performance assessment. So the really cool thing about EQIP is EQIP uses claims data to assess performance. This includes both the cost and quality performance. At this time, the performance year episode cost will be compared to that target price, and the savings will be aggregated, and any earned incentive payments would be due to the entity. So we're going to dig into this a little bit further, but this is just an overview again of how EQIP operates. So as I mentioned, during that enrollment period is the time when the entity is able to select or enroll in those clinical episodes that they would like to participate in. So this is based on the care partner or the practitioner's episode volume within the baseline year. And based on the volume and the specific episode categories, they can select the episodes that they are eligible for. I will show you the episodes that are going to be offered for 2026, but before I do that, I wanted to just break down what an episode is and the different components of an episode. So each episode will consist of a trigger, a look back window, and a close period window. The trigger is an ICD-10 code, CPT code, or HCPCS code that initiates the start of an episode. So again, these codes are indicating that a patient has a particular condition or underwent a particular procedure. Then there is a look back window that is established. This is the time period prior to the trigger when all of the relevant costs associated with that trigger are counted. And then there is the close period window, and this is the time period after following the trigger when all of the costs relevant to the trigger are also counted. So for performance year 5, calendar year 2026, as Jean mentioned, there are 68 new episodes that were added for the following clinical categories. EQIP has categorized the episodes into these clinical categories. However, there is no limitation to the type of practitioner that wishes to enroll in EQIP under one of these episodes, as long as they meet the eligibility requirements. So for today, most importantly, we wanted to highlight the opportunity for orthopedics and MSK for 2026. So you can see here the light blue episodes are episodes that already exist currently in 2025. And then our darker shade blue, they are the new episodes that have been added for 2026. So again, I will share this slide deck after the meeting so you can kind of look through it a little bit further. But in order to select these episodes, you will have to meet the specific volume requirements. And we're happy to run your MPI to determine your baseline volume. And if you meet those requirements, but for the time being, this is the selection for Ortho MSK that we're looking at for 2026. And so now I'm going to show you an example of one of the episodes. So this is one of the new ortho episodes for 2026, knee joint internal derangement. And so I wanted to kind of show you what I meant by trigger and the look back period and the closed period window. So here on the screen, you can see the following ICD-10 codes are the trigger codes that will initiate the start of a knee joint internal derangement episode. So what that means is if one of the following codes is billed for a Medicare patient, that would be initiating the start of this particular episode. The episode playbook is going to include all of this information for all of the episodes that I shared on the other slide. That is still under development right now. We are hoping that the full playbook will be available next Friday, I believe the 27th. So at that time, you'll be able to see all of the trigger codes and all of the information for all of the episodes for next year. But this is just an example, again, for this particular episode. These are the trigger codes that would initiate the start of this episode. So then after that episode has been initiated, the following episode length is used to determine the total episode cost. Again, this is just an example for one of them. More information for all of the episodes are to come. But here you can see in the middle the episode trigger. So again, this is that submission of one of the qualifying ICD-10 codes that initiates the start of this episode. Then for this particular episode, the look back period is 30 days, meaning 30 days prior to the trigger event. All of the relevant costs associated with that trigger will be included. And then the closed period window for this episode is till the end of the study period, meaning until the end of the year, end of performance year, all of the relevant costs associated with that trigger will be included. One more time, all of this information for all of the episodes will be available soon. So be on the lookout for an email once the playbook does become available. So now that we've kind of talked about how an episode is initiated and how the episode length is determined, I wanted to touch on what's actually included within each episode's cost. So the total relevant costs for a single episode include all Medicare Part A and B claim payments for the beneficiary for services that are rendered within that episode length and considered relevant to the episode. So here on the screen, you can see some example of some of the relevant costs that are typically included. When that playbook does become available, there will be more information on the specific relevant diagnoses, relevant prescriptions, and other associations that would be included within each episode. I do want to emphasize that both the episode triggers and all of the relevant costs are derived directly from the Medicare fee-for-service claims. So there's no additional reporting requirements for EQIP participants. You just have to bill as normal. So then the next element is that target price that I had touched on earlier. So again, each entity is going to get its own unique target price per episode it enrolls in. And the way EQIP determines this target price is they go back to EQIP's baseline year and they take the average total relevant episode costs among all clinical episodes that were attributed to the care partners within the baseline period. So for all of the EQIP episodes, EQIP's baseline period is 2019, except next year, the emergency department episodes will use 2023. So for ortho and MSK, we're still looking at 2019 as the baseline year. In the beginning of the year, the performance year, preliminary target prices will be made available to the entity. And then the final target price will not be made available until the end of the program year after inflation and other adjustments have been applied. And so again, this target price is used and compared to the performance year episode cost to determine if the EQIP entity is able to generate savings within the program. So that's all things cost. That's the first part of the program, but there is an aspect to the program that focuses on quality. So each EQIP entity is subject to a quality score adjustment, and we're looking at 3 specific quality metrics. So we have advanced care plan, medication reconciliation, and BMI. The way it works is that for each attributed episode, the HSCRC will assess whether the 3 measures were performed by any practitioner within the year preceding the end of the episode. So a few things to point out here. The quality metrics are measured only through claims data. So there are specific submission codes for each of the 3 metrics that will satisfy the quality metric requirement. The quality measures also only need to be billed once within the year preceding the end of the episode, and this is by any practitioner. So if a practitioner outside of EQIP sees that Medicare patient that triggered the start of an EQIP episode, and they perform advanced care plan and they document the appropriate submission, bill the appropriate submission codes, that would satisfy the practitioner's quality metric requirement. Whoever was attributed that episode, that would satisfy their requirement, even though an outside practitioner was the one to actually perform the advanced care planning. So on the upcoming slides, I have a little bit more information about each one of the metrics. Again, I will send this out to the group after the meeting, so you can look through it at your own time. I do just want to point out the submission codes. They are available on the slide here on the right. So you can see for advanced care planning, there are 2 codes, or there are 2 codes that would satisfy the advanced care plan requirement. If either one is submitted, that would satisfy for advanced care planning. For medication reconciliation, there are 3 potential codes that could be submitted, and that would satisfy the quality metric requirement. And then lastly, for BMI, there are 5 potential codes that could be used. So again, I will send this out so you can review it at your own time. If you have any questions regarding the quality metrics or the submission codes, please feel free to reach out. And I do just want to emphasize one more time, this is the only way EQIP will pick up quality metric data. If you are tracking quality metric through other means other than submitting these codes through claims data, it will not count towards EQIP. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the actual incentive payment methodology. So I've broken it down into 5 different steps to determine if the EQIP entity is actually able to earn an incentive payment through this program. And this is that shared savings aspect that Jean had mentioned earlier on. So the first step is to analyze the performance period results. So at the end of the year, the total episode cost will be compared to the target price. And if the total episode costs are less than the target price across all episodes in which the entity is participating in, then savings were met. And you get a check and you move down to the next bullet. Next, at least 3% of savings must be achieved to ensure that the savings are considered statistically significant. Once that's met, check, move down to the next bullet. If there are any savings from a prior year, they must be first offset before the entity can move forward in this methodology. So if you're a first-year participant, you wouldn't have to worry about this. And I'll touch a little bit more about the savings policy on the next slide. But once Any DIS savings are offset, if any, check, move on to the next box. So here we are at shared savings. So EQIP is a shared savings program. And what that means is participant savings, some will be retained by the entity, some will be retained by Medicare. So the way to determine how much of the savings each entity gets is they are ranked at the state level and compared on efficiency. So lower cost practitioners are in this higher tier, getting 80% of their savings, and Medicare is retaining 20%. And then on the other end, the higher cost practitioners are in the lower tier. They would only get 50% of their savings at this time, and Medicare would retain the other 50%. So that's step 2. Then we get into the clinical quality score. This is where quality comes into play. So at this time, 5% of the incentive payment will be withheld pending quality assessment. So based on how well the entity was able to perform those 3 metrics, based on the performance rates of the 3 metrics, the entity will get to keep up to that full 5% back. So they might, if your entity is somewhere in the middle, let's just say you only get 3% back, you would lose 2% of your incentive payment at that time. But again, you have the opportunity to earn that full 5% back pending your quality performance. Then there's this incentive payment cap. The incentive payment cap is just that 25% of the average care partner physician fee schedule expenditures for the preceding calendar year has not been met. And then lastly, we're at the final incentive payment. So this amount at this time is paid directly to the payment remission source that was indicated by the entity during the enrollment period. And this incentive payment is paid in full approximately 9 to 12 months after the end of the performance year. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on is inadequate performance within the program. So I mentioned on the last slide the DIS savings policy, and that's one element. And there's also this catastrophic quality performance. So Jean talked about this in the beginning, but the really cool thing about EQIP is the risk is taken at the state level, not at the practitioner level. So EQIP entities are not expected to repay CMS as a result of inadequate performance. However, the HSCRC created these 2 policies to ensure that EQIP drives meaningful improvement in both cost efficiency and quality. So starting with the DIS savings policy, there's 2 components. The first is that annual accountability that I touched on the prior slide. So prior to earning an incentive payment, the entity must offset DIS savings from prior performance years. And then the second part is that if an EQIP entity has DIS savings in 2 consecutive performance years and is in the lower 2 terciles of that tiered shared savings rate, they would be removed from the program before being able to re-enroll in future years. So they'd have to sit out a year. Then with catastrophic quality and performance, if the EQIP entity is below the 20th percentile benchmark for a single quality metric, they will be on probation, and 2 consecutive years below that 20th percentile, 2 consecutive years on probation, the entity would be removed from the program for the following year before being able, again, to re-enroll in the future. So most importantly, again, I just want to emphasize that enrollment is coming up soon. It officially will open July 1st, and it will close on that Friday, which is August 29th. And so if you would like to learn more about enrollment or your eligibility to select those episodes that we talked about, please email myself or the EQIP inbox that's listed here on the screen, equip@crisphealth.org. And you can also visit the CRISP learning system for more information. So that concludes the presentation for today. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. So, can you hear me, Olivia?
Yes.
Hi, this is David Trefsker. I'm with Atlantic General and Tidal Health. I have a question. I did submit an email to the EQIP site, and it looks like someone just responded. during this presentation about submitting the list of MPIs to check eligibility. And it's really just, it said submit the NPI and the provider's name. So do I need to put their specialty along with that? Or do you return a document similar to like the enrollment documentation? I've gone back and looked at a prior person who was handling this, and I saw the PY4 documentation for when they enrolled, and it gave a list of the number of cases, episodes, and whether yes or no they were eligible. Will that be what's kind of returned from that request?
Yes. So if you submit the individual NPIs, they should return, I'm assuming you're mentioning like the Excel sheet that has all of the episodes, and then you can see which ones they were eligible for, along with, I believe, the volume of episodes within the baseline year. That is what you should get back from them when you submit your MPI, yes.
Okay,
so you
Thank
don't
you
need
so
to add,
much. I'll get
you
that.
don't need to add specialty information or anything like
Yep.
that. All they need is the practitioner name and the NPI. And you'll be surprised, David, when you submit it, when you get it back, you'll find that like an orthopod will trigger for some behavioral health episode. You know, you'll have some weird stuff in there occasionally. But really it's about what your volume is and whether you've hit the triggering episodes or not.
Okay, excellent. I'll try to get that in today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't think they're ready to run them yet.
Actually, they are now.
Oh, they are great. Oh, terrific.
Are,
But when did they open it up, Olivia?
I just heard today that they were able to.
Oh, wow.
That is an update. So perfect timing.
So that's exciting.
Okay, well,
for all of you,
don't broadcast it till I get mine in.
I know.
Well, actually, for everybody on here, that's the first step.
Yeah.
So if you need help with that, you can reach out directly to Olivia. But but if we can, then we can start letting you know what your opportunity is. So I would strongly urge all of you to submit that information and see what bundles you qualify for.
Okay, wonderful. And I can submit it right to the EQIP email address on here.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
And if you need help or something's going on, you reach out directly to Olivia and she can help you. It's not a problem.
Okay. I actually have a meeting with her on Monday with some other coworkers, so we're good. Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any questions? All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, I will be sending a recording of this meeting out along with the slide deck for your reference. Be on the lookout for the playbook with more specific episode information in the next week. And if you need anything, my email is on the second slide, or you can always reach out to the EQIP inbox. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a great
Thank you very much.
Bye.